Hello, I am Brigadier General Steve Lambrecht. I am the Chief of Staff and Air Component Commander for the Vermont Air National Guard. You and your families are our most valuable resource and top priority. As we navigate the COVID-19 crisis and beyond, we must ensure our continued safety and security while we continue to safeguard our communities, state, nation, and future. Innovation takes on new meaning as we navigate training during this time. The challenge is to stay socially connected while physically distanced. We must adapt quickly and smartly in this changing environment to remain ready. Our communities, state, and nation rely on the lethality of our Air Force and Air National Guard. Sexual harassment, sexual assault, and suicide are serious issues that erode our lethality. They have no place in our organization. Remember, what you do unto or for any of us, including yourself, you do unto or for all of us. Thank you for your dedication, commitment, and perseverance. We are proud to serve with you.
Hello. I hope this finds you and your families safe and healthy. Welcome to 2020 Wingman and Leader Intervention Training. This year it is being provided through a virtual, pre-recorded platform to ensure the important topics that erode our culture and degrade our mission readiness are still discussed. This training will fulfill your annual requirements, but more importantly, this training will provide you with information, tools, and resources when addressing these serious and oftentimes sensitive issues. Your leadership may elect to provide the training by other means, but the most important piece as your commander is that you have the awareness of these serious issues and knowledge to help yourself and other wingmen. Knowing about programs and services is key, especially for frontline supervisors. We also know how crucial it is for us to come together, as we did for the Resilience Tactical Pause in December 2019. Based on positive feedback, we are planning another Resilience Tactical Pause this December, so we can continue the important, candid dialogue regarding these critical topics that affect the health and well-being of our fighter wing team. While stay-at-home and shelter-in-place orders creates physical distance, know that you are not alone or disconnected. I encourage everyone to remain socially connected and check in with each other, however you are able to offer support. It is common for many of us to feel stressed and overwhelmed, especially during times like these right now. But know that during times of stress and personal crisis, seeking support is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it is a sign of strength. Reaching out and asking for help from anyone shows courage and should be met with encouragement and understanding. Our biggest strength lies in our ability to stay together and operate as a team. Please continue to create and foster a culture where everyone feels valued, respected, and protected. That's a Vermont Air National Guard we all want to be a part of.
Hello, I'm Chaplain Treffs. I have the honor of serving as your full-time chaplain. Suicide prevention and becoming tuned into the signs of distress are very close to the hearts of your chaplain team. We are so incredibly privileged to walk alongside many airmen and family members where this degree of struggle was a reality. It is because of this reality in our Air Force and amongst our own GMB family right here that we urge you to also hold this close to your hearts. We are a family. Let's take care of one another. As we discussed during the 2019 Resilience Tactical Pause, suicide in the military has been constantly increasing over the last few years. 2019 saw the highest number of suicides in the military. Depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts and actions continue to be prevalent. If you are experiencing symptoms of distress yourself, or have a colleague, friend, or family member going through a hard time, first know that the wing, your GMB family, sincerely and deeply cares. Stress, as we all know, is a normal part of life. However, occasionally stress or hardships can get in the way of our ability to cope, process, and bounce back. Common signs of distress or difficulty in coping to look out for include mood changes such as depression or anxiety, difficulty or changes in sleep, too little or too much, withdrawing from family, friends, or others, increased alcohol use or abuse, negative changes in work performance. If you find yourself or notice a wingman experiencing these symptoms, or simply not being themselves, consider taking the following actions that can be easily remembered through the 4 pillars of airman health. Social, reaching out to or connecting an individual with someone, whether that be friends, family, or wingmen. Emotional, connecting with resources that can help navigate through the distress, such as the DPH, chaplains, or SARC. Spiritual, connect to what you find to be your source of strength, healing, and direction, to the something that is bigger than yourself. Physical, engage in regular exercise, especially in ways that you enjoy. This is not a comprehensive list, but it is one that we can remember and add to our tool belt. Recognizing if you or someone you know is going through significant distress is the first step towards being able to help or provide care to one of our own who is in need.
Hi, I'm Trish Dempsey, the Director of Psychological Health. What can you do if someone you know is distressed and you have concerns that they may be having thoughts of suicide? To answer that, let's review the ACE model. ACE stands for Ask, Care, Escort. Ask someone directly if they are having thoughts of suicide or harming themselves. Do not avoid this difficult question. Asking someone about suicide does not increase the chances of them attempting suicide. Be mindful about how you ask the question. Don't say, "You're not thinking about doing anything stupid, are you?" If the person is actively thinking about suicide, they are not likely to answer honestly to a question asked that way. Care. Show them that you care about their response to the question. This can be done by showing empathy and demonstrating active listening without judgment. Escort. If someone expresses current thoughts of self-harm or suicide, get them professional help to prevent suicide, show them that you care, and ultimately save their life. Empower them by letting them choose resources that are the best fit for them. Most important, never leave someone who is having thoughts of suicide alone. Another important thing to remember when someone discusses thoughts of suicide or self-harm is their access to lethal means, including firearms, medication, and other lethal means. Go slow is a helpful way to remember safe ways to store lethal means. Go slow stands for safes, locks outside of the house. The Wing Safety Office has free gun locks for anyone that would like one. Removing these means can reduce the risk of suicide attempts and people dying by suicide. Remember, small steps save lives.
Greetings, I'm Brigadier General Hank Harder. I'm your Assistant Adjutant General for Air. While suicide, depression, and anxiety and other mental health issues remain difficult subjects to talk about, it is imperative that we discuss them to ensure our teams are ready. The more we talk about what is going on, feel comfortable asking for and receiving help, the better we will be prepared to come together and support not only our country, but also our state during times of crisis. When we take care of ourselves, we can better take care of others. The 158th Fighter Wing has a number of internal resources to help individuals and families deal with thoughts of self-harm, suicide, and other issues addressed in this training. The chaplain is 100% confidential and can be found on base during the week and during drill. They are also reachable by phone or text 24/7. The DPH is also confidential and is available during the week and drill via the DPH cell phone. We also have a number of external resources available for those that need support. We are committed to helping every airman get connected to the services they need. I ask you all to continue to be good wingmen and watch out for each other. And thank you for what you do each and every day.
Sexual assault and sexual harassment have no place in the Vermont Air National Guard. They remain relevant issues in the military and society. Sexual assault and sexual harassment are inconsistent and incompatible with our values. How we treat others speaks volumes about the kind of organization we are, and violence of any kind will not be tolerated. In 2018, for the first time in 4 years, the number of anonymous sexual assault reports went up by an alarming rate. The mission of the 158th Fighter Wing's Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Program is to educate, advocate, and collaborate to stop sexual assault and to provide direct response services to victims of sexual assault. In our organization, we protect and support victims of sexual assault. Our response services are gender inclusive, culturally competent, and recovery oriented. The SAPR team is specially trained and credentialed to support victims of assault, and you can ensure you will be treated with dignity and respect and receive timely access to appropriate medical treatment and services. If you ever need support, the SAPR team is available 24/7. You can reach them at 802-735-4579. You have access to these services regardless of gender, race, culture, or sexual orientation. We continue to educate service members on their rights, options, and services so we can make informed decisions, access appropriate care, and help support one another in order to protect our team and remain a ready force.
Hi, I'm Serena Fernari. I'm the Wing Sexual Assault Response Coordinator, or SARC. I'm also a licensed clinical social worker. Today's training focuses on a number of informational points about sexual assault prevention. Let's start with some key definitions which are important to understand. Consent is a word used a lot lately. So what is it? Consent, in the simplest explanation, is an agreement between participants to engage in sexual activity. Many of us have seen the video Cup of Tea, a short clip clearly defining what consent is and isn't. Consent can be given verbally and/or through body language. Consent is not saying or not saying no. Consent is not using force, threatening someone, or placing another person in fear. Consent is not a current or previous dating, social, or sexual relationship, or how someone is dressed. Consent cannot be given when someone is asleep, incompetent, unable to speak, and/or physically unable to respond. If you are unsure, just simply ask the person for permission. Don't assume consent. Sometimes it can be difficult to understand the difference between sexual assault and sexual harassment, in part because the two can be related, where sexual harassment turns into sexual assault. Sexual assault is intentional sexual contact characterized by force, threats, intimidation, abuse of authority, or when the victim does not or cannot consent. What does intentional sexual contact mean? Intentional sexual contact is defined as intentional touching, either directly or through the clothing, of the genitalia, anus, groin, breast, inner thigh, or buttocks of any person with an intent to abuse, humiliate, harass, degrade, or arouse or gratify the sexual desire of any person. Where sexual harassment is unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, other verbal or physical contact of a sexual nature that unreasonably interferes with an individual's work performance or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. These behaviors may constitute one or more criminal offenses under the UCMJ, applicable state, federal, and foreign law. The above definitions are for this training and are not necessarily the definitions used to determine whether conduct offenses like rape, sexual assault, aggravated sexual contact, and abusive sexual contact are prosecutable. If something doesn't feel right, speak up, ask for support or help, someone in need. SAPR services are confidential, and talking about what is happening with the Sexual Assault Response Coordinator or SAPR Victim Advocate can allow someone time to decide what type of support they need and assess their options.
I'm Colonel Mike Rickey, the Vermont State Air Surgeon. For years, our data shows that confusion still exists about the different types of sexual assault reporting options, even with all the training we've had. You have two sexual assault reporting options. Restricted reporting is a confidential report that is not investigated made to a Sexual Assault Response Coordinator, or SARC, a SAPR victim advocate or volunteer victim advocate or healthcare provider. Unrestricted reporting is a report made by a victim, investigated by law enforcement with command authority notification. A DD Form 2910 must be signed by a victim in order for a restricted or unrestricted report to be made. These options are available to DoD civilians, uniformed members, and adult dependents of active duty. With either option, medical care, counseling, victim advocates, and legal support is available. We encourage you to reach out and ask for the support when you need it.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Brian Lapine, and I serve you as the Mission Support Group Commander. If information about a sexual assault comes to a commander's attention from a source other than the victim, an independent investigation must take place. The commander must report the incident to law enforcement, and an independent investigation may be initiated. Victims also have the opportunity to go outside the chain of command to report an offense to others. A victim is not required to first notify his or her commander prior to making a report, and should not if the alleged perpetrator is the commander or equivalent or otherwise in the victim's chain of command. Other contacts victims can report to can include the next senior commanding officer, commanders outside the chain of command, Office of Special Investigations, OSI, or Inspector General, IG, or the DoD SAFE Helpline. If a SARC is notified of an independent investigation and the victim has not signed a DD Form 2910, electing a restricted report, the SARC must inform the victim that the option to file a restricted report is no longer available. Mandatory reporters include security forces, local law enforcement, the chain of command, commanders, supervisors, first sergeants, and Air Force instructors. If they know about a potential sexual assault, they must report the incident to law enforcement. If you are a victim, you can choose to speak with a friend about experiences you've had. Friends are not required to speak with command or law enforcement if they are told of a sexual assault. Sexual assaults that occur between intimate, married, or dating partners, or when the victim is below the age of 18, are to be reported to Family Advocacy Program on active duty and the Director of Psychological Health for the Air National Guard. Knowing your options is vital, whether it's for yourself or a friend. There are people and processes available to help you get through difficult times. You do not have to go through a problematic time alone.
Hello, I'm Colonel Nate Graber, the 158th Operations Group Commander, and I'm here to talk about a number of resources that are available for sexual assault victims, both internally and externally. The following slide outlines some of those resources, and additional resources are available for victims who file unrestricted reports. Expedited transfer. This could be a PCS or a PCA to support immediate and future welfare of victim of sexual assault who files an unrestricted report via DD Form 2910. Military protective orders or civilian protective orders, these prohibit contact and communication between the alleged offender or offenders and the victim. You can also request a non-rated period, which is a request made directly to the unit commander. Finally, Catch a Serial Offender Program, or CATCH, is a new resource that offers victims who file a restricted report the opportunity to confidentially and anonymously submit information about the alleged offender or offenders and the incident to military criminal investigators with the goal of identifying serial offenders. If a match is identified, victims will be notified by the SARC and offered the opportunity to convert now to an unrestricted report. More details on this can be found by speaking directly with the SARC or reviewing the CATCH program at www.sapr.mil/catch. For more information regarding resources, please reach out to the SARC or SAPR Victim Advocate in person or call the 24/7 SAPR line at 802-735-4579.
I'm Corby Miles, Commander of the 229th Cyber Operations Squadron in Northfield. Today I'll be talking to you about victims' rights, as well as retaliation and reprisal. If you're the victim of sexual assault, you're entitled to SAPR victims' rights. This includes the right to be treated with fairness and respect for your dignity and privacy, be reasonably protected from the alleged offender, express a preference on military or civilian prosecution of the offense, and provide input to the convening authority on the disposition of the offense. The rights also include the right to receive notice of certain proceedings and events and be present at certain proceedings unless a military judge orders otherwise. You have the right to reasonably confer with prosecutor and trial counsel in the case and receive restitution if available by the law. You also have the right to have your proceedings be free from unreasonable delays and to be heard at certain proceedings. Our mission is to care for and to protect our people. Protecting individuals from ostracism, maltreatment, retaliation, and reprisal related to a sexual assault incident or report is part of that mission. Ostracism is the act of excluding someone from a group, and maltreatment is the act of abuse towards another person. And these are specific forms of retaliation from a peer group, and that won't be tolerated. Reprisal consists of taking adverse personnel action or withholding favorable personnel action, or simply threatening those actions against a person. Reprisal from the chain of command is unlawful, and it will not be tolerated. When a person engages in retaliation and reprisal, it erodes unit cohesion and undermines mission readiness. Ultimately, if reprisal and retaliation are allowed, they deter other victims from reporting their sexual assaults, which keep them from getting the effective support services that they need. In addition to victims, witnesses of the events, bystanders who intervene, SAPR personnel, and first responders are also protected from retaliation and reprisal. If you see retaliation and reprisal, you can report that to the SAPR personnel, Special Victims Counsel, the IG, OSI, your immediate commander, or commander outside the chain of command. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to the SARC or a SAPR victim advocate in person, or call the 24/7 SAPR line at 802-735-4579. Protecting our people means we encourage people to come forward and report violations. Remember, you're not in this alone. We are stronger together. But we are strongest when we know what help is available and when we use that knowledge.
Hello, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Ernest Tomasi, the MXS Squadron Commander. Each year, we ask you to do your part, to proactively set new norms or reactively intervene to protect our people. By doing these two things, we can reduce the number of people impacted by sexual violence. We must all be able to recognize situations, environments, and warning signs that could lead to sexual violence. Recognizing warning signs is the first step to intervening. Know that your perception will also change. What you will notice will be influenced by the environment and your relationship to the individuals who are involved in the situation. What is essential is our vigilance to recognize these dangerous situations and environments, and that we each take action when we see something that causes concern. Understand that each of us also has barriers to intervention. Barriers can be personal, social, or organizational. These barriers are what make us different. When you notice something, it's important that you know your barriers, which might get in the way of you taking action. Barriers to intervention are valid thoughts and feelings. We all have them. You might feel fear or embarrassment. You might be concerned about retaliation, or you may simply be uncertain of what to say or do. You may be worried about how your shop, friends, or other people will react if you get involved. Or you may be concerned that getting involved could negatively impact your career or someone else's career. It is important that when we recognize potentially dangerous situations, we move past our barriers and we each take action. Remaining silent helps no one. When you decide to intervene, have courage, but choose a style that also fits your ability best. Utilize a realistic intervention tool, such as direct intervention. Direct intervention is addressing the situation yourself. You approach the people who are involved and you confront them directly as to what is happening. Or you can delegate. Get someone else to intervene, such as a supervisor, a first sergeant, a friend, or another bystander there. Another intervention tool is distraction. To create a distraction, you're trying to diffuse the situation or interrupt it. For example, when you ask someone to drive you home, or interrupt, or even start a conversation to get away from that specific environment. Whichever way you decide to act, it is an acceptable choice as long as you act. The responsibility to create positive environments and intervene when needed belongs to all of us.
Hello, I'm Chief Master Sergeant Brian Sonical, the Operations Group Superintendent. Each year, we ask you to do your part, to be a good example, and intervene when something doesn't look or sound right. Prevention is not limited to intervening when you notice warning signs, to include the norms we've already established for your organization, norms that promote respect and make sexual violence less likely to happen. Sexual assault will not be tolerated. Everyone deserves to be treated with respect, and everyone is expected to play a part in prevention. Norms are set by small, daily actions. Think about something you can say or do to continue promoting a healthy climate of dignity and respect for the Vermont Air National Guard.
I am Major Megan Norwood, and I am the Director of Equal Opportunity. The Equal Opportunity Program supports you to ensure our organization values are based on fairness, equity, and justice, free from unlawful discrimination and sexual harassment. We accomplish this by working towards eliminating personal, social, and institutional barriers. In order to understand how to create an environment free from unlawful discrimination and sexual harassment, we need to understand who is impacted and who is protected. If you feel like you are being discriminated against, discrimination will fall into one of the following unlawful categories: in the military, race, national origin, religion, sex, and sexual orientation. On the civilian side, age and disability. Discrimination comes from stereotypes, prejudices, and perceptions. Stereotypes are an oversimplified image or idea of a particular type of person. For instance, if we said that women are more organized than men and thus have better attention to detail, that would be an example of a stereotype. Prejudice is an opinion or feeling that is formed prior to any facts, knowledge, or reason. Only liking a person because they have blue eyes is an example of prejudice. Discrimination and sexual harassment are perception-based. Unlike other Air Force programs, you only have to perceive that you are being discriminated against or sexually harassed in order to have a possible and/or valid EO complaint. How we communicate with each other, both verbally and non-verbally, in our organization is a major challenge and a key ingredient to avoiding discrimination. Some things you can do to avoid miscommunications are to be open and reachable, be empathetic, be professional, strive for excellence, take care of yourself physically, emotionally, and spiritually, relieve stress in healthy ways, get plenty of sleep to recharge. Equal opportunity recognizes that sometimes communicating with our coworkers is not always that simple. Luckily, we have tools to help. We have trained mediators that can work with teams to help find effective ways to communicate. These professionals strive to help resolve problems at the lowest level and can be a great solution and sounding board to talk out problems in the workplace, especially if something in your workplace just doesn't fall under discrimination or sexual harassment, but just doesn't feel right. Equal opportunity is an avenue you can turn to figure out what your next step might be. The fact is, if we don't feel comfortable in our workspace, then we are less effective in accomplishing the mission. We are in this together and need every single airman to get the job done. Please stop by and chat with our team. We look forward to getting to know you better.
If you have any questions about the material covered today, please reach out to the SARC, DPH, chaplain, or anyone you feel comfortable talking to. This can be difficult material to think about and discuss. Thank you for all that you do for our VTANG team, our communities, and our families. Stay safe and stay healthy.